Hi guys, Tucker here with a new video, and this video will be my top 5, top 4, whatever meme specs that you could play in TBC for PvP. And meme specs doesn't mean that it's bad specs, it just means that you are a one-trick pony, you are like a cheesy spec that relies on like a one-shot or relies on players like playing a bit more suboptimal. You can grind and get high in arenas, but like getting to the rank ones, that will depend on your team and depending on your teammate and depends on how the meta will be. It will be kind of the same as like previous TBC, but we'll never know. And the first one I want to discuss is the Pompyro mage. So Pompyro is the beloved spec that you are going to have fun with in arenas, in world PvP, in also BGs, and it's a 3-minute mage pretty much. But it depends on how you want to see. You can go into 43 points into Arcane, for example, but you could also stop at 35. You could also stop at 33 once you have Arcane power and you spell power. That's it. You can just stop and then go fire or even go frost. You can even play a bomb frostbolt build where you're going to play around your ice shards and you're going to play around your spell power, which will make your crit way higher. It's a decent spec as well, but the Pompyro spec is the best one when it comes down to like dealing absurd amount of damage, because you have a high scaling abilities like Pyroblast, but also base damage is really high as well. The essence of this spec that I'm currently in is that you still have Scorch, you have slow, you still have slow, and you have like Scorch as like your main enabler of like dealing more damage. So basically what you're going to do is, for example, do 5 stacks of like Scorch, and Scorch does some good damage as well, like don't get me wrong. It's not something like super impressive for sure. If you're like a frost mage, you're doing ice lances, you're going to have way more damage. That is just baseline. You have 915 on a instant spell without any frost damage scaling from frost. So as you see, the Scorch is like doing some little damage, but basically if you're playing like in a 2's comp with a Shockadin, for example, or with a rogue or whatever, you're prepping your Scorches, it is going to do a lot of damage for your arcane power Pompyro. And what you want is to have like the buff, which is arcane concentration, so you get arcane potency. And what you do is then do your Pompyro macro, and you get like a 6.3k Pompyro, which critted because you have more crit when someone when you have how it's called, you have your concentration, arcane concentration buff, you get 30% more crit. So that's like super efficient whenever it comes down to how you deal damage. And you see my Pompyro did 6.3k. It could be higher for sure if you like having full gear. Like this is merciless gear, and like I'm pretty sure you can have even better gems, better enchants, better weapons, better everything. Have maybe a big PvE trinket instead of like the normal trinket, like this, the removal of CC trinket. You can like use a PvE trinket here, and maybe you can like line up every single star and do even more damage. The negative of Pompyro, because I need to talk also about the negatives, is that you are very squishy. Rogues are like having fun with you because you don't have like nearly the same survivability as, let's say, a frost mage. You're not playing with ice barrier, you're not playing with like ice armor, you're playing with molten armor. You could play with ice armor, but like even then it's like not doing nearly the same because you don't have frostbite procs that could save you and force them to use a cloak, or forcing them to use the vanish, for example. You're also very reliant on like preparing your Scorch. You could also play like more of a I don't care, I'm just going to blast with as much as I have. That's possible as well. I personally don't really like Pompyro because it is really a 3-minute mage. That's my deal. I prefer largely playing a fire mage spec, and that is and can be seen as a meme. And you could also play full arcane even with like arcane blast, but that is also very annoying because you have to like hard cast arcane blast, and then it becomes a lot faster to cast. But even then, it's really hard to justify, and you will lose a lot of mana of doing so. And yes, arcane is going to blast NPGs if you are able to like free cast. What I like is like it's slow, because that's like one of the best abilities in the game, because it slows down casting time by 50%, slow the ranged attack by 50% as well, so hunters really dislike you as well. And movement speed is also reduced by 50% on a single button, which is spammable. It's a magic effect, so if you want to get out, you need to shapeshift, for example, if you're like a druid, or you need to get a spell from priest or paladin. So yeah, it's decent. I prefer fire mage, so a good, I would say, side note, not like in the top 5, would be fire mage. But for me, fire mage is less of a meme spec, because you could technically do well as a fire mage. You just need to go into icy veins, and you're going to do some fireballs whenever you can, but you still have scorch, which is the same effectiveness as this spec that I have right now. Your power blast will be used only if you can actually use your sheep into a power blast. Usually it will be very hard to do so, so you're not going to cast it. Obviously with icy veins you get 20% more cast speed, so you could end up do a polymorph into a power blast, and that could be effective. But for that you need either your partner to help you, or it's a 1v1, it's an open world, and you can actually do that. But what I like about fire mage, for example, is the instance that you have. You have your obviously fire blast, you have your blast wave, you have your dragon's breath, and they all do insane amount of damage, by the way. And you could then maybe spec into a frost. Like you will lose the improved counterspell. It is what it is. But you can go into frost and play around your ice lances as well. You're not really losing too much. You're going, for example, you're not going to go improve frostbolt, because you're not going to frostbolt most of the time. Elemental precision, you're going to go frost warding, improve no frost nova, frostbite, icy veins, and then at this point, what do? Well, I prefer ice shards, because I will crit with ice lance. And then I will go for Shatter to get that 40%, because I don't think I will get that 5 out of 5, because I will spend the points into Ice Shards. But you have a lot of like neat things going on when playing, and you're able then to play like a full instant cast mage, which has Blast Wave, which has Fire Blast doing more damage, which has an end up with a stun maybe, which helps you with maybe securing kill. What else? You have obviously your Dragon's Breath, which does damage and CC. Even though that CC can be broken, and it's not like fantastic CC, it's 3 seconds of disorient. It still is 3 seconds of disorient. So they cannot do anything, so you can maybe prep a fireball in between, or you're able to do a secure polymorph on the healer. There's many things that you can do, which I find fun to do as a fire mage. So honorable mention towards fire mage. Pompyro is just the meme spec that is regarded as a meme spec, which is effective at high play as well, depending on your comp. I don't like playing that in BGs, because you are very squishy first and foremost, and you are like without any utility. You're naked pretty much. But you are like a 3-minute mage, and you can like murder someone if you get a crit at the right time. Just need a front line to kind of stop people going on you, because again, a rogue that is on you, it's very hard to just survive. You will have to ice block very fast. But anyways, that's for the mage spec. There is a second spec I'm going to talk, and I'm not going to start with Shockadin first, because yeah, it will be coming on this video. I'm going to talk about a spec that is not really that well played, I would say, in TBC, because I think in Classic it's more of a thing when it comes down to surprising people with it. In TBC, you still have that as a raid spec, but nobody really talks about it as a DPS spec, and that is the Smite Priest. And Smite Priest is very interesting, because you still have a lot of the healing throughput that you would have as a priest, but you do not have like the pain suppression, you don't have like the reflective shield, you don't have like a lot of the things that would make disc priest. You still have like the decent things going on for like Smite Priest. You have like obviously the 5% crit, you have these healing focus, which is always going to be needed, you have a lower cast time on your heals, which is cool, you have your Holy Nova, which is okay to get out like people out of stealth, and it's like an instant heal. Like it's decent, like it's not wow, but it's decent if you're not able to cast. Searing Light does more damage for your Smite and Holy Fire as well. More range. You have obviously your 5 out of 5 Spiritual Guidance. Take it or not. That's your decision. If you have a bit of spirit, it is worth it. If you don't have a lot of spirit, it's not really that worth it. In my eyes, it is still a bit worth it. You could maybe put those points into maybe a deeper Disc Priest. That's possible. And then you have Surge of Light, which is the one that I am actually looking forward to, because when you crit, you get an instant cast Smite and cost no mana, but it's not able to crit. And this effect is also lasting for 10 seconds, so it's okay to have as well. There are a few variations of a Smite Priest. I didn't test everything obviously because it does take time, but what I like about Smite Priest is if you're a dwarf, you get just Chastise, and Chastise is like literally just like a button that you're going to press, what is going to do 600 or 700 damage depending on your spell power, and it does root, so that helps you as well. It's only usable on humanoids, so I cannot use it on the training dummy. But basically, what is Smite Priest? Smite Priest is still like something that is going to be able to be stopped. But it is interesting to play, and I find quite cool to play as well if you're like bored a bit in BGs. I don't think it's like more of a arena spec in my opinion. That, like, you're able to smite or holy fire anyways. You don't really need to be a smite priest for that, but you'll deal just less damage. Here, smite priest is just like going full spell power as well. Like I have 729, I could go higher if I want to, most likely, but I wanted to go a bit more with a crit in mind. And obviously it depends on like your gear as well. If you go full PvE gear, you could maybe end up with way more spell power, obviously. But you don't want to like lose too much stamina, because then you're really just a easy target. The notable things that you have is that you still have a 2-second mana burn. You still have like a fast like massy spell. You have obviously more damage on your smite and holy fire. You have power infusion, which will increase the spell casting speed, which is always going to help you, especially when you're going for holy fires. And you have obviously your inner focus, which you can then focus on the holy fire, and you have still shower word death, which is going to be a good finisher. So I still end up to do the power word pain, shower word pain on the target, because it's still like 3 damage when it comes down to the amount of damage per mana. And then you have obviously your smite, which is doing 1.2k, critting for 1.8k. In PvP it's kind of the same, like BGs or whatnot. I like it. It does a lot of damage. And then you have obviously your holy fire, which when it crits it does more. Like it did 2.1k here, which is always going to be, I don't know, how much did it do? 2.1k. It's still like decent damage, right? What I like is also the possibility to also off heal, have a prayer of mending, doing a lot of healing from it, still shielding, flash healing, it's all okay, no problem. And when you do crit with a flash heal, for example, don't know if I can crit here, if I get a crit, if I do get a crit, no, I don't get a crit, whatever. If you do get a crit, that's going to be quite good for when it comes down to like getting the instant smite onto the enemy. And Chastise is like big. I think Smite Priest is best played as a dwarf, because then you will have all the benefits of the holy damage and spell power with Chastise. You don't go shadow form, so you don't need to lose every single mana, like every single time mana to go Chastise, lose your shadow form, and then go back to shadow form, because it is a holy spell. If it was a disc spell, that would not be a problem, but it is a holy spell, so it does take you away from the shadow form. So what you could do is like use every single CD, and then with like inner focus, power infusion, that will give you a bit more crit possibilities. Here I had like an instant smite, because I did crit the holy fire. And it's a fun spec. Still have Mind Blast if you want to like get kicked on something. Why not have Mind Blast? Still have your Shadow Fin to get you a bit of mana. Always welcome to have that as well. And then your Mind Blast still does okay damage. And if you do crit a Mind Blast, it still gives you like an instant cast Smite, which is always going to be helpful. And yeah, I think it's a fun spec to play. Is it like super underrated? I think it's rated right. It's still a meme spec, but if you want to like, if you're a healer, you have healing gear, and you feel like I don't want to play Shadow, you could always play Smite Priest in raids as well. Even though in raids it's like meme spec, I think in PvP there's a meme spec that can be played casually in PGs, or like in open world PvP it could also still be decent. I think in arenas you're not going to really play it. That's my take. I'm going to TP because it's going to be faster to log out, I think. So I'm going to TP in Shadow of Mile, and I'm going to log out. And I'm going to show you the third one, which I think is known by everyone and anyone. It is the Shockadin. And Shockadin is really interesting because you do have gear that empowers Shockadin. You have, like, for example, the Merciless gear, which gives you like spell power and intellect. And obviously you have then the Force that gives you 10 seconds less on Hammer of Justice, which can help. You have also the prot gear, which is not that good. Excuse me, you have the strength gear, which is not that good for Holy Shock. And you have, obviously, your healing gear, which gives you less spell power. Here I'm running 833 spell power, and I'm going to show you the build that I'm going for. Basically, I have went to go to Holy Guidance. I try to get all the benefits of being a Shockadin. I do get Light's Grace to get, like, again, if I do want to heal, that it's easier to get those Holy Lights off. Generally speaking, you're going to be healing with Flash of Light, don't get me wrong. But it's like, again, the amount of healing that you're doing with Flash of Light is like... if you want to be preventive and you don't want to like have your ally die too hard and too fast, you generally speaking will need to do some holy lights here and there. Now I don't have mana, so maybe it's better if I go back and buy a few foods so I can show you how it will, because it is mana inefficient, so that's for sure. You prefer to keep your mana for healing, but this build doesn't really keep you enough mana, I would say, to be healing as well. You could heal and off heal, and you could still have the utility of a paladin, so that's great. But it's definitely like less efficient because you don't have divine illumination, and you are going to retribution points instead of protection, which I find is a bit better, for example, for pure healing. But yeah, I really like this like Shockadin build. There is one macro that you can do, and I haven't made it yet, so I'm going to do it with you guys. I thought I had made it. So basically, you have a macro that bakes everything into one. Avenging Wrath, for example. You have cast Avenging Wrath. You have cast Divine Favor. You have cast Holy Shock, cast Judgment. Did I write it? Yeah, it's right, written good. And obviously you can also put your trinket if you do have it on use trinket. And that itself is the damage that you need to do. You can basically also prepare the enemy with a Seal of the Crusader if you want to, which gives you even more holy damage. And when you feel like you're going, you can just press one button, which is Avenging Wrath, and that will do a lot of damage together. So you see my Judgment and my Holy Shock got thrown. I did 1.6k non-crit, and it did the 2.6k crit. Obviously, if both crit, it's around 5k damage. If both crit, and if you do have a Berserker from the PG, or if you have an extra external buff or whatever, it can deal significant amount of damage. Like here I did a double crit without Avenging Wrath, and it's still like decent damage, guys. Like this is not like OP for sure, but it is like very decent, and then you will do a lot of killing blows when it comes down to PGs. Like you're able to do so much. You can also have a good you can still have a Hammer of Justice. You can have a Divine Shield, whatever you have for Barons down. You have obviously like the spell power coefficient and healing power coefficient will help you with healing. If you want to, you can also put a Blessing of Light on your friends, so you could actually heal for a decent amount. Like this is like 3.4k healing, which is always going to be a very good when it comes down to how it plays, and for a little amount of like throughput you can have a lot of fun with it. And you can also play with Seal of Justice, Seal of Vengeance, put like debuff on, so you have both debuffs if you want to. It's not like the most damage you can do, but it's okay, like 1.7k. But what is good is like the holy damage that you have every single time, and it does do some good damage. And obviously, if you're able to play like this and you survive, it could do and end up like doing a lot of damage overall. The best comps that you would play as a Shockadin is pretty much like Pompyro, or like with a rogue you could also play like this and like one-shot someone from the start. You could also play like with a Elemental Shaman, to be fair, like if you do Elemental Mastery with like the same like Shockadin prep with Divine Favor and with your Avenging Wrath. It can do a lot. It can do significant amount of damage, and you can one-shot people. Is it easy to play? The class and the spec is easy to play, but what you need to know is you need to hand your cleanses, you need to hand your Blessing of Sacrifice whenever you can, you need to do a Blessing of Protection whenever you can. Those are the things that you need to think about, and if you're not thinking about it, then you're just playing a Shockadin which does damage every 3 minutes, which is great, and you can still do damage even outside of like having Avenging Wrath. As you can see, I can do like 3k just from the get-go without like a good RNG with crit. But if you want to be like very good with Shockadin, then you need to do also the healing part. You need to know when to heal, you need to know when to play a bit more passively. It is like the precursor of Preg, pretty much. So if you know Preg from Wrath, that is a legit spec for PvP, while this is like a meme spec that can be having a lot of like success. And when it comes down to how you deal damage, often you bring them down with Judgment and Holy Shock, and you're able to do a Hammer of Wrath below 20%. That guy is just executed because the amount of damage you can do with those 3 spells is enough. Your melee strikes are not that good, so you should not like striking like me on the dummy. But like if you can just do this, pretty much, you put this and you're like at this distance, boom, that's a lot of damage, right? So that's something you need to see and play for yourself. Obviously you need to have the best possible gear. You will have a wear cloth most likely if you want to have like a lot of success. There are probably trinkets that you can play around to put it even inside of Avenging Wrath. That's also possible. I went for a lot of crit on my gear, but if you prefer like spell power, you could do that as well. You will need spell penetration as well. That's very needed as well if you don't want to get resisted on stuff. But anyways, that's like pretty much what I mean with Shockadin. Now that's like the top 3. Now you have obviously a few honorable mentions, which I'm going to show you right away. You have obviously your Assassination Rogue and Combat Rogue. Now, Combat Rogue is not that good. It's okay. It's actually decent versus like Paladins and whatnot, because you have Riposte, right? And Riposte is like such an ability that you're going to be able to like perma have up whenever you are parrying, so that's a very good thing. But like Assassination Rogue is the one I'm having the most fun with. The issue with Assassination Rogue is the energy regen is not that good for the playstyle that you need to do. You don't have like TSLT and whatnot. You're not using it in TBC, so obviously that's going to be a bit of a bummer, especially in arenas. But the negative point about like Assassination Rogue is that you do not have Shadow Step. To be fair, the biggest negative points of Assassination Rogue is most likely that you're not a sub rogue. That's the biggest thing, because the sub rogue didn't exist. I think most people would be playing Mutilate. The mutilate is fun. You can like do some pretty good damage with it, like very good damage with it actually. And you can prep your damage with like your deadly poison as well. So I'm put deadly poison on my offhand so I can do shivs and get the deadly poisons with shiv. And you prep your damage with shiv. Obviously, doing shivs does mean that you're not doing mutilates, but you can like prep for the deadly poison with shiv and then concentrate yourself on having mutilates here and there. And once you're ready, you can basically do cold blood into envenom, and that does a lot of damage, like 2.7k, and that's without counting the ticks from the deadly poison, without counting the fact that you're going to stun them while you're doing so, without counting the fact that you're doing for sure more damage than a sub rogue when you are able to do so. The only negative part is that you will have to choose between doing a kidney shot, between like a lot of the stuff. So for example here, I'll wait a bit and I'll do a kidney shot, for example, and then I do mutilate. And if I do get the crit on mutilate, that's perfect. So I can then do envenom while they are kidney shot, and that will give me a find weakness, so 10% more damage on offensive abilities for every single time I'm using a finishing move. And also I have kidney shot, which gives you, kidney shot gives me 6% more damage on the target, so that's also quite good as well. And chances to resist poison's effects by an additional 30% is also good for yourself, and reduce the chances your poison will be resisted by 10% as well. Here, for example, gives your poison an additional 40% chance to resist dispel effects, so people can try to dispel it. It's not as easy, and in general, you're doing a lot of damage. You're also very mobile with fleet-footed. I really like that. It makes you able to go for another enchant on your boots. And yeah, I think it's fun gameplay. The only thing is that you would like to do more mutilates, and that's very hard to do so with the amount of energy that is really requiring. And you can also play a bit more about like the dots playstyle with like Rupture and Garrod, but it's still not like on the heights of like later expansions where you are able to play around your dots and do a lot of damage. Here, dots are not doing that much damage. I think Rupture even does more damage when you're going into sub rogue, because obviously you have like things that are going to help you with dealing more damage with like more AP, for example, and more like 50% agility, which is like super big as well. That's the only thing that makes Assassination Rogue really a meme in PvP, because you don't have Shadow Step, you don't have like prep, you don't have the utility behind Sub Rogue, you have like less agility, you have less AP. Overall, like Sub Rogue just does more, and that's the only thing that is making the spec not really as reliable. You have obviously your Combat Rogue, which is also fun. And if you have like Role of the Sun King, that's like a perfect combination, because you can then play Mace Rogue. And Mace Rogue is not that bad because it gives you like more crit damage with your maces, and it has a chance on stun. And that stun is not DRing with Kidney, so Kidney is still going to have full value. That's cool. But you're pretty much like just a worse warrior in my mind. Yes, you have the utility of having like a kidney shot and whatnot, and that can help. And I went for like sub talents to get like more of a stealth basis, like being more faster with stealth, having better reduced chance of getting seen in stealth as well. Like Ghostly Strike and also Serrated Blades giving me some armor penetration, which is good. That's very needed. But overall, like your damage is okay, especially when you're popping Adrenaline Rush, Slice and Dice, and then Blade Fury, for example. I'm going to do it right now. This is like really good damage because you're spamming Sinister Strike, and like that's very hard for people to counter. And if you do parry, you do get a repost, which is disarming that target. And yes, you have some talents and some enchants, or like weapon chains that could help to deal with outlaw, like with Combat Rogue, but it's definitely like something that people don't like usually face. So it is a meme spec. You can make it work. In general, like here, for example, finishing moves can no longer be dodged. So it means that if you're playing versus a rogue and you have 5 combo points, you're doing a kidney shot, he cannot dodge it. So evasion will not help them. So overall, I think in a rogue versus rogue matchup, you do end up doing okay. So yeah, that's something you you can see for yourself if you like that gameplay or not. Combat Rogue is just also good for PvE, for dungeons, for example. So you should definitely have that as a dual spec. And Sub Rogue itself, you still use the same weapons. You don't really use daggers, except if the weapon is that much better. You can also go daggers for ambush, yeah, that's cool. But most people are playing like with Hemo spec, and you can play Hemo spec with like the same weapons. So that's something that you can also see for yourself. Usually the offhand you should have a fast weapon. Now I'm not using a fast weapon here, so you could also like go for a very fast weapon, because it is like a chance, or 20% chance of getting energy, and that's going to help you. Where is my fast dagger? For example, here I have a fast dagger here. That can help you with the regen of like your energy. That helps as well. Maybe with a weak aura, like knowing or with an effect, if you do get like energy back or not. That would help you with maybe the decision of like running it with a dagger or go with a mace. A fast mace is also possible, but it's not as fast as a dagger, obviously. But that's also a playstyle that could happen as well for you. So yeah, overall, very fun. I think in general, Rogue is a fantastic class, and you most likely are going to play sub, but I wanted to give you an option if you want to play like a meme spec in PvP. That is possible as well as a rogue playing assassination or combat. Now, is there another spec I could show you? Well, to be fair, I could say that Shaman is and also a beholder of two meme specs in PvP, which is Enhance and Elemental Shaman. The reasons is that Enhance, if you want to like do the big crits and whatnot, you need to have a two-hander, so that's like RNG. But if you do end up critting with Wind Fury, it does a lot of damage, and it's also cool to play. And Elemental Shaman is like very reliant on casting, and yes, you can play around your shocks, but you're really just not on the same level as Classic. I've made a video about that, so if you want to check that out, you can check that out. If you know other meme spec, please let me know in the comment section below. I might test it as well. You can say the tanks, maybe Protection Paladin, Protection Warrior. You could also say maybe Balance Rate if in your eyes it's a meme spec. For me, it's not really a meme spec in PvP. I think, but again, I'm very biased. I do play through it, so I don't find it a meme spec. But if you have like meme specs in your mind, please let me know, so I can also show you guys or the people that don't know the meme spec on video. Again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.